Hello, this is Grant Clements from clementsaudio.com. With this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to track out your song and get it ready for mixing and mastering. In this tutorial, we are using Studio One as our DAW. Right now, we've got all of our tracks recorded. We've got everything the way we like it. First thing we're going to do is open our mixer, and we generally have all these settings to our likings, but what we're going to do is zero everything out, including the panning. As you can see, we have panning going on in some areas. So if you hold Control and click on these, let's see, where's one? Right here. If you hold Control and click, it'll zero it out back to center. So we just want to go through each track, make sure that they're all centered up. All right, and hold Control and click on each fader and it will bring it back to unity gain, which is what we want. Just gonna go through, get all these, make sure your master's there. All right, next thing we want to do is take off all effects and any kind of processing that we have going on the tracks, because this is something that the mixing engineer is going to want to do themselves. So, easiest way to do this in Studio One is click your first track, hold Shift, and click your last track, and that will highlight all of the tracks at once. Go up to the top, it could be on any of these, but go up to the top where it says Inserts and click the little power button next to it. While all of these tracks are highlighted and you click that one button, it'll turn off all of the plugins for all of the tracks. And then go over to your master and just make sure that those plugins are turned off as well. It's very, very, very important. Now that we have that out of the way, just another note is make sure that your tracks are named properly. It's very difficult. And it takes a lot of extra time that's not needed for the engineer to go through your files, and all he has is audio 1, audio 2, audio 3, audio 4, yada yada. Okay, if you have it properly named like this, when the engineer drops these tracks into the session, he automatically knows what he's looking at, as long as you labeled them correctly. So help everybody out and do that. Next thing we want to do is we need to select all of the tracks here, and you can do that several different ways. You can click underneath the tracks and drag, and you can just highlight all of them. Or a quicker way, if you just hit Control A, and that will select all of them. And then what you're going to want to do is set your markers up here from the very beginning of the song, and you want it to go all the way to the end. And a quick way of doing this is when all the tracks are selected, if you just press the letter P, as in Papa, it will automatically select from the very first audio region that it has, and it'll go to the very end of the last audio region in your project that is selected. Once you have your loop markers set at the top, you're then going to go up to Song. You're going to go down to Export Stems. Export mixdown is usually whenever you just want to do a simple mixdown for like a final mix or something that you can listen to the whole song at once. But what we want is individual files. So we're going to use Export Stems. Okay, you've got two options here. You have channels or tracks. In this case, we're going to use tracks because I don't care what you had on your drum bus, because I'm not going to process my drums the same way you process them. So really all we need are the tracks, not the channels. You can click this button that says select all just to ensure that all of those tracks are selected. Over here, we are going to use WAV file format, and this is standard practice for Mac and Windows users. Resolution, I like to keep it at 24-bit. If you only recorded in 16-bit, you would leave that at 16, but I recommend that you record and export everything in 24-bit. It's just a better resolution. Sample rate, we recorded this at 44.1 kilohertz. If you record it at 44, leave it here. If you record it at 48, put it there, and so on. If you record it at 96, you get the drill. This project was done in 44.1 kilohertz and 24-bit, so that's what we're going to keep this format in. Over here on the right, we have export range, where it says between loop. That's the one that we have checked. And what that means is it's going to export everything in between the loop markers that we set from the very beginning to the very end of our project. That's what we want. That will ensure that every track that gets exported will be exactly the same length and all of the files start in the exact time that they're supposed to. Takes out the guessing work for the engineer, trying to figure out where the kick drum actually starts in relative to the guitar and the synth, all that fun stuff. Preserve mono tracks. This is something you want to have checked. Your vocals are generally recorded in mono. It's no sense in recording a mono vocal and then it exports it into a stereo file, because then me as a mixing engineer, I'm just going to convert it back to mono. That's more steps needed than we actually need to have. So let's leave this checked, preserve mono tracks. Use real-time processing. You're not going to need this because you're not going to be doing any processing, so leave this off. Write tempo to audio files. You don't have to have this checked, but I recommend just leaving it there because it's not going to hurt anything. If your project is actually set to the correct BPM and tempo of the song, then it will take that number of your project and it'll actually kind of write it to the audio files that it exports. And that's handy because whenever the mixing engineer gets it, if you forgot to tell him the BPM of the song, he will be able to see the BPM if he loads it into a DAW such as Studio One. Import to track, you're going to leave this unchecked. Reason being is if this was checked, when you get done exporting all of these individual tracks, it's going to automatically import them back into this session, which would give you a double of all the tracks. That is very unneeded. I usually keep this checked, close after export. Just closes this dialog here when it's all done exporting. That's fine with me because I don't need to look at it once it's done. Up here, file name prefix, we are going to change that to nothing. We are going to leave that completely blank. File location, click this little box here. I'm going to go to, let's see. We're going to go to our file little folder we made on our desktop called tutorials. This could be your desktop, this could be a project folder, wherever you are going to be able to find your files at all given times. Make a file or a folder that you will always know how to get it and how to get to it. We're going to create a folder. We are going to name it the name of our song, which in this case is Studio One. Oh, horrible at typing. Track out tutorial. Okay, then we're going to double click on that and go inside of that folder. Once we're inside of that folder, we're going to hit select folder. Once again, make sure that file name prefix is completely deleted. This publishing, by the way, I didn't go over that, but do not publish. This is if you want to send it to Notion, which is another Studio One affiliated software, or if you want to upload it directly to SoundCloud. We're not wanting to upload it to SoundCloud. That'd be silly. So once you have that, you're ready to export. Hit OK. All right, once it is finished exporting, it will open up the file location on where it exported it to. As you can see, because we named each individual track that we had, it very conveniently named each file its corresponding name. So when the engineer gets all of these tracks, he knows exactly which file is which and which one's causing the bass sounds, which one's causing the hi-hats. It's very simple organization skills. Good practice. So we are going to back out one folder back to where we can see our Studio One track out tutorial folder. You're going to right click on this in Windows. You're going to go to send to compressed zipped folder. And what this does is it packages it in a smaller file format that is much easier to send over the internet. It saves on space, and it just compresses everything to be a little bit smaller of a file and easier to deal with. All right, and you're not going to change the name of this because this is the name of your song, so you're just going to want to keep it the same. But that is your zip file, and that's what you actually want to send to the mixing engineer. So open up a web browser, go to wetransfer.com. You can use their free service. You don't have to pay for this. You're going to click Add Your Files. You're going to click on your zip folder, your zip file, click Open, Email to. You're going to type in grant@clementsaudio.com, or whoever the engineer is you're sending it to, preferably me. And then you're going to type your email address in. And then very important, type the artist name. I may know you as Bruce, or I may know you as Awesome Artist, but maybe your stage name is Cool Flow. So type in Cool Flow, and then type in the name of the song that you are sending, which is Studio One Track Out Tutorial. Once you're done with that, you hit this transfer button, and that will automatically upload. It'll take several minutes, and it'll upload this big zip file that you have here. And it will automatically send a link to the email address you're sending it to, and the engineer can download your files and get started from there. So thanks for watching, and I will be putting up more tutorials on other DAWs if you are using something other than Studio One.